Right. So, on the subject of tank fighting B-side fighters, do we want to talk about this league? Or do you want to talk about Joshua and Toney, by the way? Because I know we want to talk about that. For anyone who hasn't seen, James Toney has launched a scathing attack at Anthony Joshua for not fighting anyone of note. So what do we want to do? Should we do the league or should we do James?
Just go straight into what you said there, mate. Give us your thoughts.
On which one?
James Toney.
James Toney. I love James Toney. I think he's talking complete shit in this regard, though. I really do. I don't know what you're talking about. What you on about? I mean, he fought Usyk twice. By the way, I get the odd comment saying I'm an AJ fanboy. I'm not. I could give a monkeys about AJ. I like AJ, but no more than I like any other fighter. Anyway, but I think AJ's resume is pretty good. It's not been great in the past year in his so-called rebuild, but that's not his fault. As I've said before, he would have fought Dillian Whyte, which would have been a rematch, which would have been a decent fight. He popped. He fought Alanius. Alanius popped as well, but fine. James Toney popped back in the day, by the way. And then he fought... who did he fight after that? Wallin. All right, that could have been Wilder, but okay. Wallin's still a decent opponent. And then he would have fought Wilder had Wilder come through. Wilder didn't come through, so they thought, well, fuck it, we'll do the Ngannou fight for a cunt load of money. Fair enough. But prior to that, fought Usyk twice. Like, we saw how long it took Fury to have the fucking bollocks to fight Usyk. So, you know what I mean? You've got to give him his credence there because he went in there twice with Usyk. Prior to that, yeah, Pulev. I had no problem with the Pulev fight. I thought he was a worthy contender at the time.
Klitschko, Joe Parker. Fucking
yeah.
list don't end, mate.
It's decent.
Ridiculous.
It's really decent for what there is.
Hold on.
So I think James Toney, you talk about the bollocks. But I do like you, James Toney, by the way.
I think that James Toney is talking about recently, isn't he? Is he talking about his overall career?
Well, the quote kind of sounded like it was summing up his whole career. I'll get the quote.
Even if it is recently. Let's go with both.
Even if it is recently, as I say, it's not AJ's fault that he's had to fight the people he's been fighting.
And also, didn't he try to make the Fury fight fucking 482 times?
Exactly.
And then Fury messed him about.
We've got Fury.
Then he tried to make the Wilder fight.
We've got Fury on his fucking shit at home with the fucking Furies thing, sitting in the gym with Frank Warren or George Warren on the phone going, Tyson, don't worry, we've got this deal. It's coming. It's done. It's absolutely it's there to be had. Tyson going, oh, I've got 8 seconds left. 7 seconds left. George is going, no, come on, mate. He's like, no, 4 seconds left. D-Day. That's ridiculous. The end of it. Unlucky AJ, blah, blah, blah. I'll get a fight Chisora. Oh, great. Brilliant. Fuck off, Fury.
Yeah, James Toney's talking nonsense. And plus, also, add to that, Otto William was supposed to be the trickiest southpaw ever, and he just pulverised him. Francis Ngannou apparently was better than everyone thought. Remember? It's what he did to Fury. AJ just poleaxed him in 3 rounds. All this it's just nonsense. It's not. I can't even take it with a pinch of salt. It's nonsense talk.
Former free-weight world champion James Toney has called for Anthony Joshua to grow some balls and fight some real fighters amid speculation that he's set to fight Daniel Dubois. So he's having a dig at Daniel Dubois. Why is Daniel Dubois not a worthy contender?
Honestly, like, AJ's tried to fight everybody. Everybody here.
Since the Usyk double loss, right? He hasn't fought a guy in the top 10, AJ, right? Has he? So he fought Helenius, he fought Wallin, he fought a UFC guy.
Wallin was top 10.
Oh, hold on, and Franklin. So that's 4 fights. And I've said it on here. So all of this clamour for AJ, all this amazing stuff that he's doing, this 2.0 AJ, let's have a bit of parliamentary procedure here and go, okay, but he ain't fought anyone in the top 10 yet. So let's just not lose sight on this.
Do you not think Wallin was probably
10th-ish?
Wait.
Tried to fight Wilder.
So maybe...
He tried to fight Wilder.
So... Yeah, but you can't give me if
Dillian White, though? Was Dillian White
Wilder
top
would
10?
say he tried to fight
Dillian White
AJ.
top 10 at the time? Was Dillian White top 10 at the time?
Dillian, I don't really know.
What would you say? I'm asking your opinion.
What
would you think?
At the time, I don't remember him fighting
just come off the Fury loss.
Dillian White after Usyk.
No, but he would have done, John. Huh? That's the point. It's not...
No, but you can't say he would. He had,
but he would have done.
I could have thought.
It was signed.
I was going to fight Zane last
Dillian
week.
White popped on the week. Dillian White popped on the week of the fight, so you had to scramble about. You're not going to get a top 10 contender, no way. All right, And then, I'm not standing up for him, I'm just saying how I see it. And then you got Turkey has come into the fold, right? Turkey's come in and he's gone, right, Bosh, I'm going to fucking sort you lot right out, okay? We're going to do this, this, and this. Riyadh season, blah, blah, blah. Follow my lead. What we're going to do is we're going to do AJ versus Wallin, Wilder versus Parker. Everyone's going to be watching that. Both you are going to spark your opponents out, and then Bosh, we're going to do Joshua versus Wilder. It's going to be bigger than ever. That was Turkey's plan. Everyone's following Turkey's way. And what happened? Parker beat Wilder. So again, that would have been a set in stone match for March. They was going to fight.
Exactly. And now Dubois beating Hrgovic, and Hrgovic was a top 10. I think we'll all agree on that. Now Dubois beating him. Dubois is a top 10. Got to be.
Was he?
Well, he fucking was. Let's not be after time. Let's not be after time.
No. I'm not being after time. I'm agreeing, but I'm just throwing it out there as in based on sparring stories. He seemed and Demore.
It was your IBF rank number one. How much more top 10 do you want to be?
I know, but yeah, I know. No, but I'm saying we will now start to get the real top 10, won't we? As all these guys are being made to fight each other, the top 10 will really be the top 10 now. Because before you didn't really know, did you? But I'll tell you something else. James Toney said. He said that Usyk's boring. Did you see
he's
that?
Talking shit, and he no offense to him, I think he might be a bit.
I guarantee you,
punch drunk.
He seems a bit punch drunk the way he speaks. But do you know what? I think a lot of these older fighters, I'm not sure. I don't know, but I don't know if he's made a lot of money from the sport. But I don't know. Is it a bit of clout?
You might be right. There's a lot of jealousy that comes through in these older fighters. You see it with Lennox Lewis. He very rarely gives any props to anyone. Who else is there?
Jealousy.
To AJ in particular.
Jealousy.
Yeah.
Wished it was them.
So I totally agree, though. The Francis Ngannou fight, that could have been someone of note. So I can
But it was
that.
note. But Unc.
But yeah,
Francis
you're right.
Ngannou was someone of note.
Fury, you're right.
Fucking, there was people out there picking. Did you see the bookies odds? It was ridiculous. Yeah. There was people out there picking Francis Ngannou to beat Joshua. Facts. Let's not all go back in time now and say that didn't happen.
Yeah.
We can't. All of a sudden, he's an MMA fighter now, and he wasn't before. It's ridiculous.
I bet you if you ask James Toney about Hrgovic, I bet he doesn't know anything about Hrgovic. Whereas Hrgovic was tipped to be the boogeyman, and Dubois annihilated Hrgovic. So Dubois is a more than worthy contender for Joshua's next fight.
But who is the most worthy contender? Isn't it, right, let me just throw this out. Who is the most worthy contender to shut people up then, right? So is it Joseph Parker?
Yeah, I knew he was going to say that. Probably, yes.
Is it Zhilei Zhang? Is it Caballel?
It's Parker.
Is it not any of those three above Daniel Dubois?
Okay, I'll take your point. It would be Parker.
Isn't it Caballel, Zhilei Zhang or Joseph Parker? Bear in mind, Anthony Joshua doesn't have a world title. Isn't it one of those?
Yeah, no, fair point.
Why is it
I'm
Daniel
saying
Dubois?
I loved, maybe that's a bit of a bias on my point, because it's an all-English affair and I'm excited for the fight. But no, yeah, I'll take your point. Yeah, you're right. It's more worthy of a Parker fight because he's beat Wilder and Zhang, so you can't deny that he is the man.
Yeah. I'm just giving a bit of a reason to the whole Anthony Joshua thing. Yeah, I'm on the train, and I think after those two losses to Usyk, he's come back. He's been super active. Right, this ain't one fight a year. He done 3 fights, didn't he, in 1 year? So he's been super active, and he's obviously in a rebuilding phase. And going in there against Daniel Dubois, I expect him to win the fight, but he's a heavy hitter. You get tagged, you stay tagged with that guy. So there's jeopardy in that fight. Don't think there was any jeopardy against Franklin, against Ngannou, against Wallin, even Helenius. I didn't think there was jeopardy. But yet, in this fight against Daniel Dubois, there is a bit of jeopardy. But let me just quickly say this. Have you seen the video of Daniel Dubois' dad on Seconds Out?
No.
Oh, my. What's his name? I think his name might be Dave. Is it Dave Dubois? It's fascinating. It's about 40 minutes long. If you thought you loved Daniel Dubois, you go to another stratosphere as much as you love this kid. His dad's nuts, mate. He's like a market trader from Camden Town. Like, he's worked all around London. He's like massive personality. Comes out of all these stories like back in the day. Now, he's got like 7 children. He wanted them to be boxers before they were born. It's like a project. It was literally like he was training them. He brought them up on his own. Anyway, I won't go into it. Like, the mum weren't there. He brought them up on his own. And he's quite, in every question he's asked, it's complete honesty the way he speaks about stuff. He tells you all about Caroline Dubois. They've had a bit of a falling out. They don't speak. He goes into that. Mental, brilliant interview. Anyone ain't seen it, I'm pretty sure it's on Seconds Out. But yeah, he just seems like such a lovable character. But he seems pretty sure that fight's going to happen with AJ. So yeah, I'm all in anyway for it.
Kyle, you like the fight?
Love the fight. I always thought this was my choice. If I had to pick a fight for Anthony Joshua's homecoming, so to speak, this would be the one I'd pick. Even before the Hrgovic fight, I would have picked this for Joshua because I think so much jeopardy in it for both men. I won't give you a prediction yet.
Do give us one. What you don't think it's AJ?
I think it's a toin cost. This I really do. I really
Toin cost.
Coin toss.
It's a fucking toin cost.
It's a coin toss. I think the first one who lands wins the fight, which I think will probably be AJ because AJ's too good and he's not going to go back in straight lines and be all upright like Hrgovic was. But if he switches off for a millisecond, Dubois will clean him out. I'm telling you that now. Yeah, love the fight. Can't wait for it. I know we'll definitely be there, won't we, boys?
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, I 100%. Can't wait as well. You're right. It is a clip of a foin. So, yeah.
A clip of a foin cost.
Right. Anyway, yeah. So, I think, personally, James Toney's talking bollocks. Anyway, let's move on. The league. I love this. I love it. When Turkey speaks, I fucking love it. I just do. And, I suppose Turkey is a fan who is doing all the things that most fans have always wanted, isn't he, really? And for anyone who don't know, he's talking about creating a league where there'll be 15 fighters from each weight division, from 12 weight divisions, 200 fighters in total, and they'll enter a league. And there was no mention of the belts. There was no mention of what the ultimate prize is at the end of it. So there are a million questions around it, but what it sounds like is, you know what I mean, they'll all be fighting, what did I say? These 15 fighters will all be fighting each other, and the winner who comes out on top is the ultimate champion, as it were. But there are a million questions, like I made a video about it, and I said about Zhang, I said, like, well, he ain't got, 7 or 8 fights left in him to become the ultimate champion of this so-called league. So what is Turkey going to do? Is he going to put in his own sort of belts in there? Is he going to still keep hold of the WBC and all them? I don't know. But ultimately, I just like the sound of 15 of the best fighters in the division, all in this league. You're going to see the best fights. There's no two ways about it. So I'm all in. I asked you two about it the other day, didn't I? And you had some interesting views on it. So, Kaya, coming to you first. What do you reckon? Yeah,
I mean, look, I'm not the biggest fan of what sanctioning bodies do, but I'm a big fan of the history of the sport. I do. I love watching the older fights. Obviously, we all grew up on the history of the sport, the Four Kings, and even before then, the Golden Era. And I think these belts, they stand for something. Obviously, before they started introducing fucking all these international belts and gold belts. The other day, I think Michael Hunter won the WBA gold belt against Cheney. And I was under the impression that WBA binned all these gold belts. I remember Hellenius had the gold belt at one point at heavyweight, and then they stripped him of it and binned it because there was a massive uproar about it. And now they've reintroduced it. It's just a complete and utter load of old bollocks, because all they do is take 3% of the fighters' earnings and guarantee him a spot in the top 10 or whatever, which can guarantee him bigger fights down the line. It's still part of it's like some sort of pyramid scheme. Even a pyramid scheme. It's like, you have to do this, you have to pay for this belt. If you don't pay for this belt, then you're not going to be in the top 10. So then we're going to bin you and you can't earn the big money to fight, the bigger fights. It's all just fucking part of a big scam, in my opinion. But I do love the history of the belts. And I would love it if Turkey can somehow just sit all these idiots down and go, look, this is how we're going to do it. I know you're all after money anyway. I know you're all fucking fleeces, but this is how I want to do it. You'll get this amount, but we only have one belt. And then just introduce all of these, the IBF, just the 4 of them, forget the IBO. Because I like the idea of, I like the bin the belts from the Fight Disciples. I do like them. I love the Fight Disciples. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this in the beginning anyway, because of them. They're obviously the best at what they do. But I don't agree with binning all the belts. I love unification fights. I think it brings up some brilliant matchups. So yeah, I'm all for.
So what are you saying then, bruv? You want
I'll
to
keep the belts, but Turkey somehow incorporate them in this league, but just the champion. No internationals and all that. Get rid of all them.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
But just bring the champions over,
I'm
and that's it.
So if he has 15 to 20 fighters per weight division, there's still a place to have maybe 4 belts, but then maybe what 4 worlds? So let's just focus on the heavyweight. So then what still maybe one fighter's got 3 of the belts and maybe one's got one. How's that going to work?
Well, you have unification fights. You get maybe someone who's ranked 15 can fight the IBF champion and become a world champion himself. Like, if you only have one belt, then, I think it limits the amount of opportunities for fighters in the top 15. I think it does.
I get what you're saying. Like, I was thinking, like, it would be a shame to lose the history of the belt. So I was thinking, if there's one belt, the undisputed belt, they've got that in the heavyweight division now. Like, maybe you win that, but you also, if he just buys out these belts, you say, look, I'm going to create this Super League. You're going to have 0, so you might as well sell me your belts anyway, because you're going to have no one fighting for your belts. If you can somehow get a hold of each of those belts, when you win the undisputed, you still get the 4 belts. So you still go down in history as winning that WBC heavyweight belt, but they all stay together. They don't fragment. They don't go anywhere. They stay as one. But maybe, I know what you're saying, like, that's interesting about the Zhang. There might be some fighters that don't have that many fights left. And if fighters are fighting maybe twice every year, how can that guy that's number 12th, who's 37 years of age, get to fight the geezers at number 1? Like, how do they work that out? But maybe if there's, say, 2 belts, maybe there's another belt somewhere amongst that where you might get to that belt, and then I know what you mean.
There's a lot of things to work out in there, because also you've still got to have some sort of rating as a fighter, because you want to put the best rated against the best rated, if that makes sense as well. I mean, I don't know. There's so many things.
Another way to pick up on it. What if you've got one dominant champion in one of the weight classes who's 500 times better than everyone else? It's just that weight class dies because no one will ever beat him. He's 25 years of age. He's just coming into his prime. Like in a new way, for example. No one's got a chance of beating him. Nobody, right? Even though he got floored by Lewis Neary, but, essentially he was going to get up and knock him out anyway. So if you've got one dominant champion, like a John Jones in the UFC, like, it means that whole weight division becomes boring. No one will watch it because everyone knows the outcome straight away, right?
If in that year the champion fights, number 1 and number 2 fight, and number 3 and number 4 fight, so then you can have 4 fights, and that takes care of the top 8 guys. Depending on those victories, that happens in the first quarter of the year. Depending on those victories, the back end of the year, it's almost like a semi. Could you get a semi-final and a final every year?
That's what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, because also, if your champion is injured for that fight, it fucks everything up, doesn't it? It literally messes.
The whole division's on lockdown, John, for a year, 2 years, 18 months. How long does a champion have then to get himself fit, him or her, whoever, get themselves fit and defend their belt? What if they have problems outside the ring? Do they get stripped straight away? I feel like it's this, you can't use, everyone go, the UFC works for the UFC. It's not the UFC. This is boxing. It's different.
Yeah. But do you know what? In saying that, maybe at the start of every year, Turki Al-Sheikh, with help from, the other promoters and that, just say, look, these are the fights this year. Like, these are the 8 fights going into this year. These are your 2 semi-finals, and then the winner out of those 2, that's the final. And it's going to have to be a little bit subjective as well. It can't just be on who they've beaten. Maybe the manner of the way, say, Zhilei Zhang beats someone, all of a sudden he gets a shot at this guy, and if you win that, you're in the final coming into Christmas. Maybe that's the way it could be done. But
look, Cali Sauerland's already done this, and it worked perfectly with the WBSS.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was 8 fighters. You fight quarterfinals, semi-finals, final. Whatever belts they bring along with them, that you can test for them as well. Love the WBSS.
Yeah.
It was my favourite fucking thing, but obviously a massive headache for Cali. He's having much more fun over there with those misfit slots. Good luck to him, right? But if Turkey can get the top 16 fighters...
He has been sniffing about with that misfit slot for a while, hasn't he?
But if Turkey can get, say, the top 16 fighters, you can have a round of 16, right? Then quarterfinals, then semi-finals and finals, and doesn't say much for those fighters that get knocked out in the first phase. But that's what it is. It becomes like a knockout tournament rather than a league.
It sounds good on paper, but I said to you in the WhatsApp group is that the thing with the UFC is that they can have multiple fights against tough opposition, but they can lose a fight in many different ways. So, like, there could be an arm bar, like you tap out, or your leg gets kicked to bits, and they don't take constant head trauma. Whereas in boxing, it's constant head trauma. So, can you go in war after war after war, or do you need a couple of fights? Well, I might fight someone who's a bit of a tricky pot shotter on the back foot because I've just had an absolute war. I might need a tick over because I'm coming back from an injury. So as much as we don't want to see that in boxing, there is an argument that because boxing is brutal in the sense it's constant head trauma, sometimes you can't have fights like that.
So how many fights a year then? Maximum for a fighter?
UFC, you can.
At the top level? 3, 4? We could probably do 4.
It depends on the type of fight that you have, doesn't it? Really? 3, I think.
So if it's 4, for argument's sake, you can squeeze the 4th. Yeah, but if you can squeeze 4 fights out of an elite level fighter, say, for example, they've taken head trauma, like you say, been knocked out, they lose their spot. It goes to the next one in line to go forward and move forward in the process. But that would mean that all of these top 15, 16 fighters would have to remain in the gym for the whole year. So they'd have to be compensated for that as well, for sparring, things like that. There's a lot of elements to that, to the equation.
But 15's a funny number, isn't it? Well, one person's not fighting any in that first sort of round. So, again, I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely is going to take some thought. And ultimately, not everyone's going to be happy with it. There's going to be some sort of subjective element to it because it can't work. Because you say there's too many problems with fighters getting injured, but that didn't happen in the WBSS. Yeah. Fighters got injured and then they put in
step in
replacements.
Yeah, but I tell you now, I bet you any money it happens. I bet you.
I'm all for it, mate.
What I want to see as well is that I'd love to see is that once you make it to that top 20, wouldn't it be good that you get a pension, you get free private medical healthcare, like all the stuff that the UFC give their fighters, like access to that performance centre. They get a lot of stuff on the outside. Whereas, how much did Jack Massey get for beating Chamberlain? Do you know what I mean? How much did Aziz get for that 8 round ultimate, like, war towards the end? Like, have they got private medical care? Are they having to pay for that themselves, all the scans and whatnot? Like, I bet you they do. Have they got pensions? Are they looked after? So a lot of those fighters that, you might not be a top 5 guy, a top 3 guy, you might not win a belt, but just for making it into that top 20, you get this package to be a part of.
I just love it because
there's a lot of good that can be done.
As I say, you're going to see the best fight the best. It's great nowadays. You remember when Barry Earney done a press conference? I think it was his only one. He never done one since, and he mentioned about Dillian Whyte, and he said the slavery comment, and he said back in the day, the fighters were slaves to the promoters and had to do as the promoters said. He said nowadays the fighters are in charge of their own destiny. He worded it wrong and it made the news. Anyway, I actually, personally, I want more of not necessarily the promoters. I want someone being in charge more of who these fighters are fighting because Fury has made this apparent that the fighters are choosing cherry picking, like he's cherry picked Chisora and blah, blah, blah. If anyone's in this league, I'm more than happy for Turkey to say, you're fighting you're fighting him, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Instead of, you know what I mean, Fury choosing his own fucking opponents all these years. I'm sick of that. So this will change that.
And you know what as well? Like if it say the number was, say it was like, you saying 15 fighters, let's say it was 20 fighters. Like, think of the Premier League as well. Because the Premier League is so good, and once you go there, you get the parachute payment, like from the broadcast now. There are all these other small hall shows, all these other promoters on the outside. Like, there could be some sort of way, you get in. It's like a promotion. You get in, someone drops out. Yeah. And then that still builds boxing around it as well. Like, there's loads of ways that this could be done. It's definitely positive the way it's going towards this way, in my opinion, anyway.
Saudi's been blinding. No matter what way you look at it, you can't not be a happy boxing fan these days with what they're doing.